myself. Huge almond-shaped eyes staring vacantly into the mirror right in front of her. She wiped the frosted glass with her stubby hand.
Vivify Studio Stories.
Her black rounded pupils stared into the reflection of a woman who just entered in her late 20s. Her tangled frizzy hair dropped loose over her shoulders. She blankly stared at her plumpish tan face, with pouty full lips, almond-shaped eyes and rosy crimson cheeks for some time. Who is this damsel? Her chaotic mind echoed with these questions. Where was her life heading towards? What was her purpose in life? The voice in her mind talked back to her and replied she was just like any other girl walking on this planet Earth. Another unadmired art piece created by God, to beautify and illuminate the world with. What is your existence? The reflection in the mirror answered. The voice in her head answered to enlighten the closed and ignorant minds. Viola. She herself answered her purpose of her life. Her bewilderedness came to an end, when she answered her existence. She no longer claimed herself to be a dirtbag now. Her originality was actually veiling her innocence and simplicity. Her restlessness was the answer to her soul being wrapped in mechanic, human-built artificial shallow world that she was made to believe and to accept it as her living abode. She does needs time for herself to unwind and to break free the clenches of the ruling class. Maybe she wanted a democratic inner self, which she was being denied for so long. She wanted to accept her true self and to unveil her fake self that she wears for the world outside. To escape the criticizing and to break the status quo that she was being molded into for so long just to fit into the culture. To deny her acceptance to the power players as her heirs. To being labeled as crippled and weak without a man's acceptance in her late 20s.
Vivify Studio Stories.
She truly did answer her true inner self-exploration. Her existence in the world without any support or family. The wrinkles on her face marked her journey, maybe a rough and lonely one, to being self-made in an chauvinistic male-dominating society. A society created by the weak and rigid mindsets, to scare of the weaker creations. Her self-talks seemed to be useless in the eyes of the commoners, but her self-talks led to her being a strong creation. She no longer felt scared, she no longer needed acceptance from the people outside, or the outsiders, whose existence was of no avail to her. She was on journey where she bumped into various strangers, who themselves are lost in this overcrowded concrete jungle. Her hardships did not make her hate people, but in fact, the hardships made her like herself more. These hardships were like the unseen battles for her. After all, she was just a decoration, or in Urdu we say, zenat, made to beautify the world that she existed in. She was strong as she did not give anyone the right to defame her or to criticize her for who she was. A woman, yes, but with intellect, which many creations of God lack. She had a purpose in life, she was not clueless or lost.
Vivify Studio Stories.
As she has answered the most difficult question that many creations of God fail to answer, myself. Self-criticizing and being hard on herself was not an option for her at the moment. Fighting for survival, that was the only ray of light for her. Unacceptance is certainly hard to accept, but for her was a biggest crime against mankind. A sin greater than an other sin. It was denied to her for so long, her right of just being a human. Her soul faced human rights violation over and over again for a long period of time. To her, this act should be detained under any given circumstances. And killing, criticizing an enlightened mind is like self-exiling yourself in a land with power outage. And certainly she didn't wanted her soul to be a soul of a beast on a loose. 'Cause after all, whatever the culture is, humans are not made to morph themselves into beasts. So do but some resist. Can a creation that is meant to beautify and enlighten her surroundings be useless? Save creations of God by people who are made to destroy them before we end up in darkness of ignorance. And ignorance is the end of mankind. Now when she sees herself in the mirror, she sees herself as a humanitarian figure reflecting back at her.
Vivify Studio Stories.